How are you doing this morning?
Doing wonderful.
You're doing
It is.
wonderful.
Yes. I'm still on Central Time.
Okay, there you were muted to all of our guests out in the Facebook world,
Oh,
but I believe you're ready to go now.
sorry about
So,
that. All
nope,
right. Good
nope,
morning.
that's perfect. Well, Rebecca, it is the bottom of the hour. We are right here on time. So what is our topic for today? I think you've got an exciting topic again.
Um, all of these topics kind of correlate together in some way, shape, or form. It's about our mind shift and looking at things differently. And this one here is, we've talked about the goal and getting there and the journey, and this one kind of follows along with that. This is going from a narrow focus to the big picture. And and it's another one of these that I've had to look at differently. Um, Not just for the fact that, I've always had big dreams. I've always had things I've wanted to do or see or go to or be a part of. Um, but it's taking that step to get there. And it's to 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 get to that big picture. You have to stop thinking of just the right here and the now.
Hmm. Why is that? Why do you have to look at that and get your eyes off of the present?
Well, it's one of those things that I don't think you have to get your eyes off of it, but you also have to be aware of it. 'Cause sometimes I think we get tunnel vision. We get tunnel vision and in our mind we have the thoughts of our big picture, but we have a hard time seeing it. And when we're just focused every day on our day-to-day tasks, it's hard to see that picture. So, getting out of the tunnel vision, you know, we've talked about this before many times about there are tasks that we have to do every day. There are things that we have to do every day. But I think if we get stuck thinking about them daily instead of thinking about why we are doing them and why we are looking at the big picture, then I think that's where we get into trouble.
Yeah. One of the things that our business mentor has taught us is if you want to be really successful in your business, you have to look out forward. You have to see something before you that's bigger than you. You have to see something before you that is worthwhile, has high value, and it gives you the ability to get inspired, to get excited, right? To to create the fuel that moves you to another level. And that's one of the things that a really, really great leader does. A really great leader never takes the eyes off of the future for the big picture. They know where they're going. They can see the destination. But a really great leader is going to get the people within the organization that are maneuvering the vehicle, that are running the vehicle, that are moving the vehicle forward. They're going to be really, really good at getting the team to move forward. And that's one of the things that I've seen over and over and over again. A prime example of that is John Maxwell, who's our mentor, and everybody has talked about that. One of his biggest goals was to have the ability to bring leadership programs to every nation in the world and be able to afford to do it, right? And he put that before the right people, and the right people have funded it. The right people have equipped it. The right people have developed the programs, And yet, John's number one purpose in his role was to keep the vision in front of everybody, keep the vision in front of everyone. And that was one of the things that I thought about when you brought this topic up, Rebecca, is each one of us has a little bit different role to play, but it's so important that all of us can see the vision, can see the outcome. And I'm not talking about the what we do components. I'm talking about the why we do it components. Why do we want to do something great? Why do we want to do something big? Why do you want to look at the big picture? What does your big picture look like? What's it feel like? Because if a really, really great leader is going to put that out there and say, look, when we've accomplished this, this is how we've impacted the world. This is how we've impacted people. This is the difference that we're making to our global market. This is the difference that we're making to the people around us. This is the way that we're going to positively change the world. And they put a big picture of why in front of you. And I see way too many leaders who put a big picture of what in front of people. They put a big picture of what they're going to accomplish, or what they're going to do, and what the numbers are going to look like, and what this and what that. But they don't talk about the why. See, numbers don't motivate people. Numbers don't motivate people. The hitting big financial goals, that can be exciting for a moment, but people who have accomplished it, that doesn't motivate them. But what motivates them is the change that they can create, the things that give them a purpose in life, that give them a reason for getting up in the morning and going to work. Even if it's at a factory line, if you're going to work in a factory line, but you can see the big picture of how you and your product are changing the lives of people everywhere, and you get that vision in front of you, it excites you to go to work and do what you're about to do. But that's a challenge when we get caught up in our day-to-day work. And that's something that we as leaders have to be really, really, really good at. If you're not seeing that from your leadership, find a way to create it. Find a way to create it within yourself, because you need to be able to see a picture of something greater, of something bigger that you're going to pursue, a bigger why. Because in the big picture of things, you need to know why you're doing something, not just what you're doing. You need to know why you're doing it. And that's a
Well, and I
huge
think
deal.
that helps with, because as we've said, you get kind of lost in the weeds
Absolutely.
when when you're trying to get to that bigger picture, you get lost in the weeds of, and it's things that have to be done. I mean, they're important things. But I
Well,
think if you keep your why in front of you,
yeah,
it helps to get through those mundane everyday tasks that you have to do.
absolutely. Absolutely. And if you keep the why in front of you, you allow the how to change as needed, and versus just getting caught up in the what. The what will keep you so focused, so narrowly focused on just doing a thing, that you don't expand your potential to doing different things, multiple approaches, a different way to impact at a greater level. And that's one of the things that I've seen so many times over the years. It's like, no, we don't do that. No, we don't. No, no. I'm like, why? Because we don't do that. And there's not a reason why. And I'm like, well, what's the big vision? Does this fit in with the vision? Does it have potential? Maybe it's not us that does it, but maybe we partner with somebody that does this. Maybe we collaborate with somebody that can do this. Well, it's not us, but it's a collaboration opportunity, because it makes a bigger picture, and the vision becomes a realistic vision. The why becomes doable through the process of collaboration. And that's why it's so important that we don't take our pictures off of, or don't take our vision off of the why, and be able to look out there and see it big. Otherwise, it's just so narrowly focused. And next thing you know, you've traveled a road to a dead end, and that's no fun place to be.
Well,
Not at
and
all.
I think you need to keep like a progression journal so you can see, I mean, so you can go back and see where you are now compared to where you were before.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, you know, sometimes it's small steps. Sometimes it's just little steps. It's not a huge, I mean, there's not a huge change. But as long as you're making those changes, as long as something is changing and growing, and I think once you get into a rhythm of that, you know, and you can see, hey, this is working. Hey, this is changing. That 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 mindset starts to change, that mind shift really comes into play. Because if you look back and you're still doing, you know, what they always say, if you do what you do, you get what you get if you're doing the same thing all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then you have to decide, I need to change something. I need to do something different. But I think looking back and making a conscious note of, okay, you know, a year ago, this is where I was at. This year, this is where I'm at. I've done this through this last year. This is what's been different. And it's, you're still working on getting that big picture, and it's not going to happen overnight. I mean, that's one of the things that I have such a struggle with is I want it to happen now, but it's not going to happen. It's going to take some time. It's going to take, you know, effort. It's going to take a lot of work. And I think that's where some people stumble on that big picture because it is going to take a lot of work. You're not just going to sit back and get it. The other part of it is if you have to believe that you are able to get that big picture. Because if you're thinking of something that is unattainable, that is unrealistic in some way or another, it's hard to move forward to that.
But see, sometimes that big picture feels unrealistic, feels unattainable. It feels like it cannot be done. But that's where the mistakes are made. As soon as you say to yourself, that's ridiculous, that's too much, that's too big, that's unrealistic. As soon as you say it, you're done. You're done.
I know, but if you tell yourself, hey, I want to make $100 million in the next 5 months, I mean, is it possible? Yeah, it is possible. There are things that you can do to absolutely make $100 million in 5 months. Um, but it's going to be a lot of hard work.
Yeah. Now, to your point, if you're going to make $100 million, if that's your goal, the number one question is why? Why do you want to make $100 million? And number two, what are you going to do? Go back to the book Think and Grow Rich. The book Think and Grow Rich talks about this in the processes of how you get the right mindset, how you get the right goals in place, and how you set the goals for your why. And there's a question in there in the 6 steps of goal achievement, in the 6 steps in Think and Grow Rich. There's one in there that says, what are you going to exchange? What are you going to give for what you are about to get? What are you willing to give in order to get? And when you start thinking about that, that's really the how component. To make $100 million, yes, to make $100 million in 6 months, for most people, that's not going to be realistic. But could you do it in 6 years? Sure. Would it change your life? Absolutely. Could you completely change the life of everybody around you? Absolutely, you can. All your customers? For sure. What kind of value are you delivering to them? What are you bringing to them? and as you start thinking about, what is attainable, yes, the timeline may move. You go back to Paul Martinelli. When Paul Martinelli set the goals for the John Maxwell team, and he set a goal for 5,000 coaches, and he set that goal for 2 years. And when he set that goal for 2 years, it actually took them into year three before they hit the goal. But after they hit that goal, it exploded. It absolutely exploded. Why? Because it took 3 years to learn how to do it. It took 3 years to learn how to deliver a result, to deliver a sales process. It took them 3 years to figure out the components to actually make a scalable company. And that's what I found interesting is he never took his eyes off the goal. Never once. Not one time did he take the eyes off the goal. And he continued to work on the plan. He continued to work on the process because it was the growth process. It was the putting the pieces together. It was fitting the puzzle together. And I see way too many companies who will change the goal instead of changing the plan. And then when they don't hit a goal, well, you're a loser. That's no good. The question needs to be, what do we change to achieve the goal? What do you build? What do you make different? What do we do to work towards the achievement of the goal? And what do we have to look at differently? And that is the way Paul looks at it. A goal is not the achievement of a goal should never be about the goal itself. It should never be about the achievement of the goal. When you achieve a goal, you need to be able to look back and say, this is how I've grown. This is how I've improved. This is how I'm different. Because if you're not different at the end of the goal when you've achieved it, what was the reason for it? What was the reason for it? If you haven't created a difference, what was the reason for it? You're never going to achieve big goals with your existing mindset. It's never going to happen. You have to be able to think in that big picture, that big vision, that big outcome. You've got to be able to see it. You've got to be able to see it. And if you can't see it, you'll never achieve it. And that was one of the things I learned from Paul. And he's proven it time after time after time after time.
Well, I'm a big proponent for notebooks and things like that. But I am write it down. Write it down and tape it on
Mm-hmm.
your mirror.
Mm-hmm.
My screensaver of my iPad is my vision board. It's things that I want. It's things that where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And just keeping that around, if it's on your phone, take a picture of it and put it on your phone. So every time you go to make a phone call or something, you see why you're doing that, what your big picture is, so you know what you're working towards. And it's different for everybody, but you know, like I said, write it on a piece of paper and tape it on your mirror so you see it every morning. So those mornings that you don't want to get up and work out, read that, and so you know where you're going and why you're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. No, it's so important to be able to see where you're going and to see that picture and to see that outcome that you're striving for, and never lose its sight. Because if you lose sight of it, it's kind of like driving across the country, and your destination is the West Coast, and you're in Ohio, right? And your destination is a specific town on the West Coast, and you get halfway across and say, okay, that's it. I'm not. I just it's too far. It's just too far. I can't get there. It's going to take too long. It's going to be too hard. I'm too tired. All the you're going to find all kinds of excuses not to finish the journey. But when you keep it in front of you and you've got the destination in front of you and you just take down the miles one at a time, and you just pull down the miles, and next thing you know, you've made the right turns. You've followed the right path. You've made the adjustments. You've hit detours and barriers. You've hit road construction. You've hit weather. You've hit all sorts of things on your travel through to your destination, but you never quit. You never quit. You never stopped. You kept the vision in mind. You kept the focus, and you fulfilled the journey. You fulfilled your objective, and your goal, your vision. It happens every day in life, but in the
Well, that's like me walking up a hill. You always know that I know where the top is and I know where I'm going, but I always look at my feet because it's just it's an uphill climb. It's tiring, it's hard, but I know I'm going to get there. But if I watch my feet, then it doesn't seem like it's as bad.
That's right.
But if I look at the top where I know I want to go, if I look at it, it just seems like it's unbearable to get there.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, it's fun. It's fun when you can see the big picture and you can go out and you can experience it. The things that I experienced in my own career path, and seeing some big vision things, and then experiencing some of the challenges, the struggles of getting there. I can understand and see why people quit. I really do. And at the same time, it's without that, nothing great would have ever been accomplished in the world that we live in. We are so spoiled today when you look at the world that we live in, and when you see the impact that those before us have made, and you realize how much perseverance they had, how much focus they had on big pictures, how much desire they had to accomplish something great. And you read their stories and you understand the struggles that they've gone through. That's what motivates me. Yesterday, Rebecca, you and I stopped at a resort that was kind of off the beaten path, and it's a really, really beautiful place. And I got, if you think about that place, when it first came into the mind of the guy who created it, which is another training we could do sometime, um, is how things are created. But that was somebody's idea that they put into a plan and then they implemented. Right? It's a very, very simple process. But when they implemented that, you know how easy it could have been to quit. You know how many times there was something that cost more money than they had planned. Do you know how many times that either somebody quit, or a company didn't show up, a contractor is late? You know how many different struggles that they had building that? I don't know, but I can guarantee you they were there. I'll guarantee you that existed when they built that, but they never quit. They never quit. They never quit. They kept the goal in mind. And that's what we have to learn, is how to keep that picture in front of us, keep that vision in front of us, to motivate, inspire, and to build us. And it doesn't matter what position you have in life, it's so important to go there and to keep
Well,
that.
and you know what we've ran into before is having that discussion with somebody about the big picture, and it was too big. It was too big for them to, it wasn't too big to achieve. Um, but it was too big for them to fathom that. They couldn't understand what that would look like. And, because that's a little scary sometimes. I mean, if you look at that big
For sure.
picture and you think about reaching that goal, that would be like, whoa, that's amazing. But if you have always had a different mindset and looking at things differently as you grew up, your childhood, and if it's money, thinking about making $1 million is completely, that's just that's unfathomable. But to look at making, oh, I could make $100,000, you know, um, but that's something that it's achievable. It's just hard to see it. It's hard to understand that, hey, I can do that. I can do
Yeah.
that. And so there's some more things that you have to work on before you can really see that big picture.
Yep. Yeah. Well, this has been good. We have a few people on Zoom. Does anybody want to jump in and comment? We've had some good comments come in. Um, yeah, I'd love to hear somebody's thoughts. So if you want to unmute and share your thoughts with us about seeing big vision, perseverance, that would be awesome.
Hey, morning,
David,
guys. Can you hear me?
Good morning,
hey,
David.
how are you?
Yeah, so not losing sight of the big picture is definitely something that the journey that I'm on, that we're on. It's a big, as you like to say, hairy, audacious goal, and uh, you do need to look at where you've been to know where you're going, and it does. I consciously do that quite a bit. I look back and think, okay, where am I relative to where we've come from? And because where you're going, it can sometimes feel like a massive task. So it does pay to stop and look back and give yourself a little bit of credit for everything you've achieved and what it's taken to get to where we are. So yeah, and another point that I'll make is you're right about why are you doing something, and if it's just to make money, that's not. I mean, yeah, I want to be able to be comfortable and be able to make choices, but that's not what drives me. It's making a difference, and if I feel like that, then other people probably do too. So it's finding their why as well makes um a big difference because you know not everyone is driven by money. You probably find that a lot of people have probably find the majority of people have got other things as well as being able to survive that they want to achieve. And so yeah, working out why you're doing something is just as important, I think,
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
because
Yeah,
it's if all you did was make money, then it probably doesn't bring you happiness. So you've got to, and with the long journey, you'll get burnt out if that's all you're trying to do. So if you can find happiness along the way in what you're doing, then it becomes less of a job and more of a thing that you want to do.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It gives you, when you've got that purpose in life, it's motivation, it's fuel, it's inspiration, and it gives you something to fight for. When there doesn't feel like there's any more fight in you. So very good, very good. All right. Any other comments? Any other thoughts? If not, Rebecca, I'm going to ask you to start giving some wrap up here.
All right. Well, this was a good topic. I love talking about this, and because it's taken a long, and I'm not going to say my mindset is perfect. I'm still working on it, but it's taken a long time for me to switch my mindset, to know that I can achieve the things that I want to achieve, that I can, you know, growing and changing every day. I learn stuff, especially living with the encyclopedia. I learn stuff new every day. Just kidding.
You mean
But
Google?
I do. But it is, I learn stuff every day, and some of it, y- learning and growing is contradicting to what you've always believed. But I've had to learn to open up my mind and go, hey, well, maybe there is a different way to look at that. Hey, maybe there is a different way to achieve those goals. But I know it's possible. I know it can be done. I'm my biggest stumbling block to reaching those, and that's what I have to work on, is get out of the tunnel vision and look at the picture.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely right. Well, this has been a good session for me. It reminds me that it is time once again that we need to do another Think and Grow Rich series. That's one we haven't done for a while, and this was so much on the ideas behind Think and Grow Rich, because you have to be able to see it. There's so many stories in there that talk about perseverance, that talk about getting a clear picture, a vision in your mind, putting that down on paper, keeping it in front of you. It's all right there, and that's how greatness happens. And it's one of those things that I really took away from this is we need to ramp up and do another Think and Grow Rich, and it's about time to go through that book again. That's one of the 5 books I go through every single year, and it's definitely worth it. So all right, well, thank you again, Rebecca, for pulling us together. Thank you for those that jumped into Monday Mind Shift. We had some really great feedback today. Greatly appreciate everybody's engagement, and look forward to learning and growing with each of you as we continue forward. So, God bless. Make it an amazing week, and we'll see you here next week.
bye.